Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Hey, RJ, how you doing, man?
Hey, Jordan, how are you?
I don't know, man. I'm tired. It was and I had a little bit of traveling. It was my dad's 75th birthday, so we went up to go see him for that. And I don't know if I'm more tired from, the traveling and the celebration, or just the fact that we had this enormous onslaught of biathlon, 4 races in the last 2 days. And there was just everything that happened before that. I'm worn down.
Yeah. And, it didn't help with, so I was off work on Thursday and Friday, and then of course the weekend, and then, today is also a stat day here. And, I remember texting you, like I woke up, I don't know what time it was, but I thought it was a day later and I missed 2 races, and I was texting you saying, tomorrow I have to watch the races live, and then in between I have to catch up with the other races and stuff. So yeah, it was all a bit of a mix up in my head, but it's still like, it just makes me think of considering how tiring it can be to keep track of everything and watch everything and then read news and all that stuff, and then to realize that these guys have so many races to actually ski. Yes. And when you're still in, you're still in a celebratory or not celebratory mood after a race, and you already have to get ready or focus for the next race. So especially those that, race every race or almost every race, it must be not physically, well, also physically, but very mentally exhausting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for somebody who like JT Bow, who has so many medals that, of course he's still excited about each one, but he doesn't, it's not as sort of overwhelming. But for these people who have these great races, so you want to celebrate that, but then you have to turn around to race again the next day. So it's got to be,
I know,
your head's got to be spinning.
I would assume that at least gives you a lot of energy too. But like for someone like Tandrevold, it must be,
oh yes,
like every race must be like, I just want to get it over with. And of course she still has the hope that she'll turn it around. And then pretty much every race she had a meltdown in the standing at some point.
I know. So normally we don't try to just go race by race, but there's so much that happened that my brain can actually not hold all of it. So we are going to do a little of that during the episode, just because we were sitting here getting
reality
ready.
Check, Jordan.
Yeah,
it's never going to be in it. Let's do a reality check. It's never going to be like in a chronological.
No, it's never going to be orderly. Never going to be orderly. But as we were getting ready, I was just quickly scrolling through the results. There were things that happened 2 days ago that I'm already like, whoa, that happened. Like how did I forget it? So it's been a lot.
Yeah.
But general takeaways, like general big picture things. How do you feel about these World Championships?
I really, really liked that there were a lot of nations in the mix.
Yeah.
And maybe not in the end result on the podium, but, like Estonia being right in there until the last lap on the women's relay. We had some really good results of Polish athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Latvia, both Rastogujev had a great, whole championship.
Yeah.
Biba had her amazing result on was it sprint or pursuit?
Sprint, yeah, where she was 5th. Yeah.
Sprint, yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, a lot of the so-called smaller nations were in it for a long time.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to see, and just a mixture of, we had our usual names at the top, but also a lot of people that maybe weren't expected to be in the, top 6, or a lot of turnaround. Like the Germans weren't obviously doing very well the first week, but then the second week they did a lot better. And
the Swedes.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into that later, but I really wonder if you would ask Samuelson, would you rather have a couple of individual medals or winning the relay and beating the Norwegians? What would you pick? And I mean, I don't know him, but I would not be surprised if he got more satisfaction out of beating the Norwegians than, because I mean, in the end, it was not a very successful World Championship for the Swedes by any means, but I think, winning the relay,
it was maybe not a successful overall championships, but a very successful day, winning the men's and silver in the women's.
Yeah.
So it sort of salvaged it there at the end.
Yeah. For what stood out for you?
Exactly what you said. We only had, I think, 6 different nations end up on the podium. If I can do it off the top of my head: Norway, France, Italy, Germany, Latvia, obviously, Sweden. Yeah. And, but in the last couple of days, we had Estonia in the top, finishing 4th, the U.S. men's relay finishing 5th. The Polish athletes, RJ's giving me a thumbs up. I don't know where that came from. It just popped up on the, it was an emoji that popped up on our video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the computer agrees with me. But Estonia, USA, Poland had some good results. The Latvian relay team had their best ever at Worlds. So, we just had some sort of unique nations that were getting up there. Again, they didn't end up on the podium, but it was nice to see them, especially this season. It feels like it's been very much the Norwegians men dominating the men, the French women and Tandrevold and Batozzi have been dominating the women's side, but it was nice to see a little bit of diversity. I think that I wanted to give a brief shout out to the organizers and the volunteers, because it was warm for the entire week, and there were a couple of times when the tracks definitely were suffering. But the fact that there was still snow to ski on at the end was a minor miracle. I think that there was only one night that it actually got below freezing, so it was just a lot of work that they had to do to keep it at a level where they could continue to race on it. Again, was it pristine and perfect?
Crowd too, right?
Yes. How many days was it raining and they were still out there cheering? That was awesome. Also, and we can talk about this more later too, but the Czech Republic the Czechia did not have a tremendous World Championships, but the fans never gave up, right? They were out there cheering like crazy for every result, no matter what it was. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Most, if not all athletes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like they stuck around for the last one to finish, and it was, and I think JT Bowe said it too, right? That it's one of the, if not favorite stadiums to race in, especially for big events like this, because the crowd is just so it's loud, really neat and present, and
it's that giant stadium. And then when they come in before they do the shooting, like they come in front of the stadium and then they circle back around and shoot in front of the crowd, and so you just get a lot of time right in front of all the fans, and it's a really amazing setup. Also, like, it is a absolute wall. Every time I forget how high up those fans go, like it is gigantic.
It's really, I think there's one other place where they built the range inside an old soccer stadium or something.
Wow, where is that? We'll have to look it up now.
Yeah,
nothing is quite like Withholding, where the
I don't
fans
think it's
are
like the
on
World
top.
Cup, but I've seen or read about a stadium where they basically took half of the soccer stands out, but left half, and then I'll see if I can find it.
So that was magnificent. But I'm impressed that they were able to kind of keep it going, because the weather was not good. I
just wanted to more outside of the World Championships.
Yeah.
But on the Joanne Reed story we did earlier, U.S. Biathlon came out with some news that they are The board of directors has voted to hire an independent contractor to conduct an audit of athlete wellness practices and team culture.
Yeah, good.
They said U.S. Biathlon was not subject of the AP investigation. They recognized that the well-being of athletes was adversely impacted. And then for that, we sincerely apologize, and we are committed to strengthening our culture, oversight, and safeguards against future occurrences. So they are going to evaluate athletes' wellness and team culture, identify gaps, and recommend improvements. And we can keep track of that on the U.S. Biathlon website.
And we will.
So, I don't want to get into the details again, but it is good to see that at least there's a follow-up on, the whole situation. And I also noticed maybe a week ago, as a member of Biathlon Canada, I got an invite for Canada Safe Sport that we're doing a special session on, athlete safety and et cetera. So at least there's some positives coming out of this.
Yeah.
Oh, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. On a happier note, one of the big picture things that stood out to me was in my head, this is sort of the World Championships of the mom, because we had obviously Baiba Bendika just racing her skis off. I mean, they were melting that she was going so fast. And then you had Justine Breza-Boucher. So hey, look, I had somebody reach out to me on Twitter, and he had a phonetic breakdown of how to say it, and I was like, aha, it clicked. So no joke, for 3 days afterward, when I wasn't doing anything in my office, I'd just be sitting there trying to say it over and over again. I apologize, I'll mess it up later, but I got it once.
And then Katie's like, who is Justine Breza-Boucher?
I know, yeah, I'm saying it in my sleep.
Talking about her in your sleep.
Saying it in my sleep, yeah. Yeah, it's my French. No, just not, no. Anyway, it just those two women, not only were they there and racing, but they had success, and they showed and Baiba joked a little bit about it later, but it's like this mom strength, like this mom power, and they not only they were amazing. They raced. Justine obviously won multiple medals, and Baiba had that fifth in the sprint. She was a member of the single mixed relay team that was, what did they finish, 7th? And the Latvian women's team had their best ever finish at Worlds. She qualified for the mass start. I know she wasn't happy with her finish, but Justine obviously won the mass start in an amazing fashion. But yeah, so the World Championships of the mom, and with so many women having given birth within the last year, I imagine that we're just going to keep seeing it. Also, I want to make a special shout out early in the episode. The Latvian Federation is asking for help with a little bit of financing for making the trip to Soldier Hollow and to Canmore. So I will post the link, but yep. So if anybody just wants to chip in a few bucks to help them out, that would be awesome. And our favorite, Baiba Bendika, has hinted that she will be making the trip, and she wasn't sure she would be able to, having a little one at home. So I'm very excited that might be happening.
Yes, absolutely.
Her goal, she said, is to be the fastest one in Salt Lake City or in Soldier Hollow. So, let's make it happen. It's not
out of the realm of possibilities.
Not the way she was going. Which actually leads me to another thought, which is we talked about wax a lot this year. We talked about it again on our last episode. And at that point, we talked about how the French looked like they were nailing it. The Norwegians looked like they were getting it together. I think we saw some interesting results. I shouldn't say results, but some interesting evidence that some other nations sort of figured it out as the World Championships went along. I'm thinking of the French, but then obviously Baiba had amazing skis.
The German?
Oh, Germans, excuse me. Yes. Yeah. And so I think, it was one of those, the more time you had on the snow, they sort of figured it out. But Yeah, I don't know if you saw anything in particular about that, or we also talked about skis and ski technology. So anything that you saw?
Yeah, I did. It was interesting that there was still the occasional day where one team just seemed to completely miss it on the wax.
Yeah.
There was also, I think that was in the first week where most Germans were skiing well, but Preutz was not. And I think we mentioned it briefly before, but there is a difference between brands. They use, the bottom of skis is different. The grind can be different. And so even if the wax team hits it for, say, all the Fischer skiers on the team, the Salomon skis still might not run well, or the other way around or anything. So I think it's, sometimes not as easy as, the Germans did well or the French did well. It's also the skis they're on. And yeah, we talked about the technology. I did try to really look at the bindings. I get the impression that only Sturla Holmlag Wright was actually using the new bindings and boots. Now, I could be completely off. I'll be the first to admit that, but I really tried to look at the connection point either being under the foot or by the toe, and it seemed to me that most other match-use skiers were still using the regular bindings. But if it hadn't been for the sprint, I would say, I'm not sure if it really made a big difference, but I'm still convinced that Sturla Holm had maybe a 4-second advantage with those bindings and just giving him a little more energy at the end, but who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be fun to watch as I think we see more and more of it over the next next few weeks, and then especially into next season, which I imagine more athletes will use it next season.
Right. Question for you.
Yes, sir.
Did we see the very first small little cracks in the foundation of dominance on the Norwegian side?
In what way do you mean? Are you thinking about the relay in particular, or the?
Well, yeah, the relay, the women.
Yeah. Oh, the women especially. So that is a topic of conversation. The Norwegian women.
Christensen didn't have a good relay, but Sturla Holmlag Wright
also did not as well.
All too well.
Yeah. That's a good question. So if you look back, you look at the going back to the individual race, you had the Bo boys were at the top, but then Christensen was 16th. There, I mean, we can go more into that race in particular, so I'll hold off on that for now. But single mixed relay, Norway finished in third. Big conversation to be had there. In the women's relay, Norway was 10th,
I think.
Yeah. In the men's relay, they finished in second, and that was sort of a very memorable race. The mass start, Tandrevold was the highest Norwegian in 10th, and then in the mass start, of course.
Did you realize that was the best result of Norwegian women in the whole championship?
I did not. No. That's alarming. And then in the mass start, you had 3 Norwegians in the top 10, but, in the past, we've seen them go, 5 in the top 7. So, yeah. So is it the first
course,
crack?
It's too easy to say, but it just that it's not even like obviously the skills, the quality, and everything is there, but it's maybe just the confidence level was not quite there. One other thing that I wanted to bring up, and that kind of bugged me, is the disqualification of Dominguez. And if you strictly follow the rules, I don't know. We talked about this before when we had Stransheim taking off his skis and reaching over the firing line and not being disqualified. And then even this championship, and I've seen it before, where Michael Krčmarč forgot to open his snow cover, and while being ready to shoot in prone, he just flapped it open, which is also against the rules, because during the whole shooting, the end of the barrel needs to be across the firing line. And to open your snow cover, your hand needs to be across the firing line, but you're never, ever allowed any body part to cross the firing line. So by default, those can never happen together. So that gets, not dealt with. Strandsheim, I mean, I think they said in the end that nobody put in a protest. But then from what I've read and seen, what happened is that, she put her poles down and ended up with part of her ski being on top of a strap of a pole. And because you're not allowed to either take your skis off or put anything under your ski, she was disqualified. And again, it might be that in this case, somebody did put in a protest and then they have to follow the rules and disqualify her. But given the leniency that they've showed in previous occasions, I don't know if this is just, what you see everywhere in soccer or whatever. The big nations always seem to have a bit of a favored position. I thought it was not just unfair, but also very much against the whole idea of biathlon is for everybody. Because if somebody from Estonia, I think she would have been 10th or 11th.
Yeah.
Obviously, and again, I didn't see the whole thing, but from what I could see and what I've read about it, there was no intention by any means to get more stability or putting something under her ski on purpose. I really, really don't see why you would disqualify somebody for this, where, in my personal opinion, going across the firing line is like the biggest and most dangerous infraction, and that goes unpenalized in 2 occasions.
Yeah.
So that was one of the few times where I was not very happy with the IBU.
Yeah, it comes down to if you're going to enforce the rules, just enforce the rules.
Yeah, and it's I get it with the Strandsheim, he was doing so well, blah blah blah, but it's like, then you set a precedent. But so was
C. She was too, right?
Sorry.
She was too. It's obviously it wasn't a podium, but a top 10 is still for her was a great finish, right?
Yeah. So with that all in mind, I was so happy for how they did in the relay. Yeah, but we'll get into that. A couple of quick other things before we get into the races, if that's okay.
Yeah, I've got one more big one too.
Okay, I just read that Tandrevold and team, so that's the women's side, are taking a break. They'll be racing in Oslo, but
can't be too much of a break. Yeah.
Maze just basically said, just go do something else and forget about biathlon for a bit. I'm sorry if I mix it up. I think I read that Lynn Persson season is done and she's getting shoulder surgery.
I think this is her second surgery because I believe she had one at the
end
of
last season. She had 2 in the summer.
Well. Yeah.
Dorothea Weir is ending her season, and it may have been her last race ever, but she's going to decide on that in the summer.
Yeah, it sounds like for her, it is about not so much do I think I can come back and compete at a high level, but do I want to put in the work to do it, or do I want to move on to the next thing? Which is fair, right? And she is doing something with is it Eurovision or Euros? She's at the Olympics this summer. So she'll be commentating in Paris. So maybe that's the direction she wants to go.
But I think, last year she was still kind of the main Italian woman on the team. And I think this has been a season of transition with Vitozzi clearly taking that spot. So
I would love to see her hang around. And I'm going to call him at the Tandrevold role, which isn't fair to Tarja because he's obviously still, a top 3 biathlete in the world, but just sort of like the elder statesman who's still very good, but but that's just me being selfish.
Yeah. No, and a shout out here for my Fast and Fossil teammate Brian, who was so hoping that he would be able to see Doro in real life in Canmore, but unfortunately that's not going to happen.
No.
And last, Hannah Kabinger already didn't make it to the team for the World Championships, but she's actually ending her season right now. So
sounds like she had some health issues after getting COVID in the fall, and it just hasn't really come together for her after that. So big summer of training for her. She's going to come back and join a terrific young German team and be fantastic. We're going to hope for all the best. And did you see a big one? I don't know if you're about to say this. Mona Broersen announced her retirement. So this is her last World Championships. She's going to retire after the end of the season.
Is she coming to North America, or is she?
She didn't say one way or the other. I hope so.
Oh, okay.
I hope so. But yep. So in the season in which she had her career best second place, and she had some fine racing this championships. It'll be. Sorry to see her go, because she's such a happy figure on the World
absolutely.
Cup. Yeah. So
we briefly texted. Have you noticed that Hannah Uber was wearing a brace? And have you noticed if she's done that more often?
I hadn't noticed it until you said something, and then I saw it, and I was like, that's interesting. So something to keep an eye on.
I don't know if it's just kind of a precautionary thing, but
yeah, that was the first time I saw it.
I didn't make a note on the commentators, but I'm going to stay away from that. I wanted to do a shout out to Miss Forsberg, Raphael Poiré, and Suglova for making it to the Hall of Fame. I'm kind of surprised that they're not in there, but it might be one of those where you have to be retired for so many years before you're allowed to be in the Hall of Fame.
I think so. My take on it is that they've got a list of people that are going to be in the Hall of Fame, and they're just doing it slowly over the course of several years. So they continue to have lots of big names every year.
Yeah. What did you think of the bibs and this whole defending champion thing?
Yeah, that was interesting. I think it was worthwhile to have on there. It gave some of the I think JT Bow was the only one I saw do this, where he specifically, as
Pointing
he crossed the finish line. Yeah. So that was, it was neat. It was interesting.
I would have liked if it was like completely like the whole bit being gold.
Yeah.
Because it's not part of the World Cup now.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily have to use the red and yellow to indicate the
leaders,
the World Cup leader and that kind of thing. Because you would think, especially World Cup leaders, people will kind of know.
Yeah.
And, if you win one individual race in the season, you've got the red bib for individual. That doesn't really. Anyway, I thought it would be. It was nice, but I think it would be more fun if they would just have a gold bib for the winner of last year and silver and bronze or something like that.
And I think I'm just thinking about this right now. For the casual fan, I think that's a great idea. It's just have like, this is the defending champion, because there are some people who this will be the only thing they watch. And so like, hey, look, this is somebody to keep an eye on. And they could even make different, just like, so instead of having a gold bib for, the overall leader, just say like that person is now wearing a, I don't know, green bib. I'm just making it up, or a pink, something that signifies, hey, this person's good. Keep an eye on them. And they can announce at the big, just on the broadcast, just even in the corner, just put up a little thing and say, hey, this bib means this bib means this, just so if you're just tuning in, like you know who, oh, hey, this person's good, I'll keep an eye on them. So no, I'm glad they're trying new things. And speaking of the broadcast, I really enjoyed the use of the drones to follow athletes on the first lap. I thought that was really helpful and gave a lot of really good good context for what the course looked like to the athletes. And the drone operators were very skilled, because it's not like these were high overhead shots. Like they were getting down and following along on the course, right?
I wonder how quiet those are, because we watch a lot of nature shows on Disney and National Geographic, and they're following these animals so close, like geese or whatever. And the drones, I know, they're like really loud.
Super loud.
So my guess is that the ones they are using are not that loud at all. Because, they were really close. And I can imagine skiing and then having like a big bee right over your shoulder can be a little, intimidating. But no, I totally agree. And the overhead shots are awesome, because it gives you an idea of the track. And especially here where there was some extra loops and stuff, you could totally see the difference between the athletes. So I totally agree. Those are really good.
Or where they were cut back. So that it was great. And I want more of this. Yes, give us more of this. It really it improves the experience greatly. For those of us who have never been there. Did you have anything else?
Tying Olainer Bjørndalen for 20 golds.
Yes,
at the World Championship.
So hold that
Still
thought.
one behind.
Hold, I do want to get into this in a second. But before we do, last news thing, you alluded to it. The Norwegian women did not have a great championships, 10th being their best result. They were told just to go and be people and not, worry about biathlon for a little while. But what on earth happened? And you think especially about Tandrevold, the person who I thought of, and I don't know how much you guys or anybody else watches, the Olympics or the Summer Olympics, but Simone Biles, was widely expected to have an amazing Summer Olympics back in Tokyo, defending gold medalist, and she got there, and it was she suddenly couldn't dismount or do her normal moves because they called it the twisties, but basically it was a mental block, and it was she would get into it and couldn't get herself down safely, and it almost felt like Tandrevold, she could prone shoot fine, and then she would get there for the standing shoot, and it was suddenly everything went sideways for her. And she just couldn't see.
But then in the mass start, she missed 3 in the first inning, but then the second she shoots clean.
I think she was so far out of it. I think she was just so far out of it.
I did see, I don't know if that was right after mass start, but did you see that Vitozzi gave her a big hug?
I think everybody was doing their best to try to pick her up. I mean, Vitozzi is the perfect person for it.
But I think especially with Vitozzi, to be it feels shit, but you'll get over it. And
yeah. And it was that isn't. I didn't see that, but that is an excellent observation, and just that is the role model she needs to have. But you could just I saw it especially after the single mix, she was devastated, and you saw it JT Bowe was being, I thought, really good with her and just trying to prop her up and be hey, they were just better than us today, and that's biathlon, especially in team, right? But it must have been super tough for Bowe because basically lost 2 gold medals, but I just and then she goes out there and in the relay, I just I honestly don't know if she saw the targets, and not that she wasn't looking or she had her eyes closed. I just wonder was she so mentally blocked that she just, because she's a great athlete, and it's the same thing with Vitozzi a couple of years ago. They didn't, the skill is in there. It's hard to watch. And I don't say this just as a fan, but just as a fan of biathlon in general.
Mm-hmm. And I, even at my lowly biathlon level, you have shots where okay, I pulled it too early or waited too long or didn't feel right, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. There are definitely shots where you're I'm sure that's a hit, and then you don't see the target fall.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, because you feel like you've done everything right, and it should have been a hit, but it's not. Yeah. And at that level, you can always see, right? They some have 2 misses and they adjust, and then all of a sudden they have 3 hits. So they kind of know where they're missing and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But if you feel that it should be a hit and it's not, and you take a next shot and you feel like it should be a hit and you don't hit it, that is again, at my crazy low level, it feels so frustrating, even for me.
Yeah.
Where I don't, whether I hit 10 or miss 10, and I go home and life goes on, right?
Yeah.
But for them, at the World Championships, I can only imagine how horrible that must feel.
I'm sure you heard her after one of the races. Was it the pursuit or the individual? And she said, I don't know what's going on. And just, I think that speaks to what you said. She feels like she's doing it right and then not going down. And I don't know. Yeah. But, and then you saw her with, after the relay, she had to feel horrible, but even she's comforting Ida Leon, who obviously was devastated. Right. And you just, oh man, I wish that there was an extra week. You know how there's 2 weekends between the end of the Anholtz race and then the Worlds. I wish that they had an extra week just to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Just even practicing, even shooting balloons or whatever. Yeah. Just makes them have fun.
Go to a carnival, right? And shoot balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
two more.
hard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know it's not anything new, but I think what really stood out for me is the advantage Simone gets from her time in the range.
Yeah.
Like in the individual, she was 52.4 seconds faster than Fitozzi, who's not a slow shooter.
Well, you saw that. You saw what happened too, right? With Fitozzi? On her very first shoot, there was some sort of mechanical issue. I don't remember what it was anymore, but she actually had the slowest shoot of everybody, like pretty significantly.
Okay, well, but I was actually going to look
even still,
because Vogt, right? Vogt has like over 95%, but she takes forever.
Yeah.
And that works for her, so good. But just the way Simone is like, it's all one smooth movement. And before you're even ready for her to go shoot, she's already got 2 targets down. It's incredible.
And
so far, it was always like skiing was the big, benefit, I guess. But she's really
we talked about it before. I even think we talked about it last episode. But like when you're racing in a pursuit or a mass start, and you're standing next to her, and suddenly she's got 3 targets down, and you haven't fired your first shot yet, like that's got to be the worst feeling, because it's not like she doesn't just shoot fast, but when she goes through these streaks where she hits everything, it just has to feel hopeless. Yeah. And it's like she builds these little, especially when she's racing against really fast skiers too. Like she builds these little micro leads, these little like 5, 6, 7 second leads leaving the range. So even if they shoot perfect, and they still have to chase her down, which isn't easy because she's still fast, but she makes them work just that extra little bit, and that just has to kill them. So I say all that. Kudos to Justine Breza-Boucher and her amazing mass start victory, 20 for 20, and she didn't seem to press. She seemed to actually take her time on the shooting. I thought that was a pretty a mature thing to do, because her standing shootings were 28.9 and 27.8 seconds, not close to the 17.3 and 18.6 of Julia Simon. Or the prone shooting, Simone was 21.1 seconds, and everybody else around her, Jean Monod, Vitozzi, Justine, were all 26 seconds. So, yeah.
It's like 18 seconds. I take more time to just get down on the mat and get in position.
Do you know? So I wrote this down. So Simone, she gained, just in the mass start, she gained 21 seconds on Veer. Just in shooting time. She gained 23 seconds on Jean Monod. She gained 26 seconds on Elvira. She gained 27 on Tandrevold. She gained 34 seconds on Justine Breza-Boucher. 34 seconds.
Can you check Vogt?
Vogt was 35. That is crazy.
That's more than
to
a
me.
penalty loop.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing for Justine, she blows everybody off the course, so it doesn't really matter because Justine gained 32 seconds on the course on Vitozzi, 51 on Simone. Anyway, just bananas things that she's able to do. With
talking
shooting.
about the French women,
did
you find that they seem to have buried the battle axe a bit?
It seems so, yeah.
Because it definitely
when you're winning.
So far was always. What's that?
It helps when you're winning.
Oh, of course. Well, I don't know if that's true, because JBB winning means Simone's not winning. So
no, that's maybe that's a good point. Yeah,
but they just seemed less cold to each other, and I noticed that especially the later races in the relays, they were standing side by side.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So
and I wonder too. Like there obviously was some bad feelings, but at the end of the day, it was like a few $100. And it was a totally lunatic thing to do. But you wonder if Simone, if behind the scenes as she is, apologized. And obviously, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just making things up because I don't know, but just extrapolating based off of what we're seeing.
So, I mean, obviously Elvira wasn't having a great season so far, but I think this championship was really concerning. And it makes me wonder. I want to look into how many points are to be gained in Soldier Hollow and Camor, and especially if Elvira doesn't have a really good Oslo World Cup either, if she would even bother coming over, and potentially other athletes feeling the same way. Yeah. Like if Tandrevold has a horrible number of races in Oslo, I could see that she's still like, hey, No, but for her, I could still be like,
Yeah.
she's still in a position to win the bib, so she would come regardless, I would think. But for someone like Elvira, who's obviously not really at the level where she wants to be, and if she doesn't have a chance to win the Globe anymore, I don't know. I can't imagine, but just
I
make
am
me
hoping
really...
that in Oslo, everybody has amazing races and they feel so good coming out of it.
Yeah,
that they just want to come over and yeah.
Very last thing before we go into races.
Yes.
Did you come up with a new nickname for Jean Monod by any chance after the mass start?
Was I supposed to? Sweet Lou?
Tattoo Lou. It's funny because some people someone like Simon and could be completely off here, but I would not be surprised to see some tattoos here and there. I don't know if you saw Jean Monod.
I did not.
With some very big tattoos on her arm, on her hand.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And they looked really good. And it was just not something that I expected with her for some reason. So
I love Lou Jean Monod. I think she's awesome.
Yeah.
I just is a great character. I love watching her compete and watching her go into or in the short sleeves, like going with the Julia Simone look. I thought was pretty cool.
Well, I know gloves because often you still see that they wear the gloves because they're so used to that. So it was really cool. She's an adorable character. Like the way she's with her teammates and even with other athletes. And I don't know. I think I said it at the start of the season, I can see her being one of those Martin Fourcade type of guy, or people in a couple of years where she's just, because she seemed to have it all, like cool, ski speed.
Oh, ski speed for days.
Obviously, shooting standards are incredibly high. Like,
I would go so far, like, she next year, like she already was, if she hadn't missed those races, would be in the overall mix this year. I mean, would it surprise you?
But we talked about it too, where even her bad races are still top tens, right?
I know, because she shoots so well. She's good. Like, she's good.
But maybe she'll have the sophomore jinx, like so many others had before.
Maybe
next season.
Yeah,
but
I hope not. I just
be cool to see her.
It's fun to watch her. Yeah, I'm hoping that she comes over to North America as well. Yeah, I just want everyone to come. So, I think it's a good place to jump into the races. Now, I don't know if you want to go back to the races we saw and already covered, or if you just want to start right with the individuals in the middle of the week.
I thought the individuals, and I think people that are interested in biathlon probably know the results in general.
Yeah.
So for me, I just wanted to highlight the things that stood out to me and the results that stood out to me.
Please.
If that works for you.
Yeah. Can we start by saying the Germans had a grand recovery in the individual races? We talked about
just in general.
Yeah. And they looked a little bit lost, and then suddenly they get to the individuals, and they had 3 of the top 5 women, including Hetty Waltz, and getting silver, and then on the men's side, Benny Dole gets the bronze. So it was all of a sudden, it's like, okay, the Germans are back. Panic over.
Well, and Hetty Waltz is also quite the surprise, right?
Huge, yeah.
With her result in general. And then did they have 3 Germans in the top 6?
3 in the top 5, yeah. I shouldn't say huge surprise, because I think she had I found that she had 4 top 10s in the previous 7 races leading into it. So she was trending in a really good direction. But second place, that was a jump for her. So that was really cool to see. And she'd been in the flowers, I think, a couple times in Anholt. So yeah. But that was a really nice jump.
And the shooting, was this the race where there were 6 athletes that were clean and 3 of them were Germans?
Very well could have been. Yeah. Because Groschen, Vogt, and Hetty Waltz all went clean.
And how's that? Hey, 4th place on your first race ever at a World Championship senior?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, she might have a future ahead of her.
Yeah.
That's and not just 4th place, right? But to finish, like, you're a couple spots ahead of Jean Monod and Blaise Boucher. Like, these are, we just were raving about them. So it's not like other people were having terrible races.
Right.
But I think we should mention that Breza Boucher, she was in 7th place.
Just to shoot clean in your first race.
That's
like
pretty
it's
wild.
one, like shooting clean is already so hard. And then knowing it's your first race and you're actually in contention for a podium. Well, maybe she was too far behind at that point, but for top 6, the extra pressure, it's just so impressive.
Right, and she was later in the bibs too. I don't have it in front of me what her bib number
34.
was, but yeah, so she was not like she was right off the front. She knew what she needed to do at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, the individual gave us some fun names, right? So Kristina Dimitrenko, the Ukrainian woman, finished in 8th for her career best, and Deidre Irwin was in 11th, and she was overjoyed. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, and should be. Like that's an incredible result.
Yep. Regina Ermitz in 13th. So that should have been 2 Estonian women, right? In the top 15 there.
Yeah, and I had not connected Regina Ermitz to Regina Oya.
Oh,
like
good point. Good point.
Yeah,
got married.
She got married, and because she's been on the World Cup for quite a while.
Yeah. Different name.
And she had a good result maybe 1 or 2 seasons ago. And at the time I thought, I wonder if this is sort of her breakthrough, but it didn't really happen. But now, she had an awesome championship. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a fantastic championships for her.
So this was the race where Preutz felt her skis were not very good. But given the fact that she was sick after, maybe that played a bigger role.
True. And it did turn out, it was reported later that all of the rest of the German women went with one ski prep and she went with another one. Yeah. So that probably didn't play a role. Or probably did play a role, excuse me. Anything else from the women's individual?
Gross, little disappointed for her that, she clearly had her peak, but just not going as well anymore. Lotte Lee, 18, Anna Gantler, 19.
I had hopes for Davidova in this race too. Just I thought maybe if she was going to have a breakthrough race, but
and I think after 2 shootings she was still in it quite a bit, but after that 2 more misses. So
the men's. I mean, I do want to come back. I want to close by talking about JT Bone and his whole performance, but another spectacular, resounding win in the individual, just like last season. Not as much as last season, but won by 58 seconds, so almost won by a full penalty, which is just ridiculous. And especially when you take into account the fact that, maybe not especially because, but maybe because of the track turned to just slush mush at the halfway point of the race, and you could see some of the guys just look like they were in quicksand.
Yeah. He almost got 2 minutes on Dole, even though they both had one penalty. And Dole is not a slow shooter. And I mean, you were talking about, the sort of the older generation in the biathlon.
Yeah.
Tarjei Bo.
Yes.
2nd place.
The older generation. Tarjei and I don't know if I've ever shared this before, but he's one of my favorites because he and I are almost exactly the same age. So, I see him as like the old head and I'm like, well, I guess, that's me now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, but Jakob Fak, 9th.
Yes.
Simoneder, 12th.
Yeah. Great day for the older generation there. Yeah. 36
and 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, take my hat off.
Not a bad day for the
Campbell
French.
Wright is also,
my goodness.
Here he was 20th, but he's having a championship.
Did you? So his overall finishes, I think he was like 11th and 12th in the sprint and pursuit, 20th in the individual. He had obviously the relay success with the single mixed. He looked pretty good, and then the relay
wasn't he
finished
one of the fastest in his lap?
He was, yeah. And then he was in the mass start and finished 18th. So not stellar, but still he was in the mass start and as a 21-year-old American. So not bad. Also wanted to shout out
31.
Yes,
and I think that got him. Is that the reason why he was on the mass start?
That and the 17th, I think he had in the
sprint.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some huge personal bests in the individual. So Tomas Makiska finished in 10th, and the Czech fans were just beside themselves because he was later in the race too, and he was. Did he miss his very last shot? I think he was like 19 for 20, but he missed his very last shot. So he was, and you can say this for a lot of people, but he was like one shot away from potentially, a top 5, top 6. Mm-hmm. And but this young man, he was looking good last year, had a really great Summer World Championships until the mass start when he dislocated his knee and had to have surgery. Comes back a couple of weeks ago, and then I think this was only his like 3rd or 4th race back, and he finishes 10th at the Worlds, which was amazing. So super excited about him. You had Christos Simmer, Simmer from Estonia, 14th place. And that was a major career best for him. I think his career best before that was like 42nd. So pretty good place to get some career bests, I think.
See, I find it interesting that Liegert, he was 18th, but he only had 2 misses, yet he's 5 minutes behind Bo. Yeah,
well, this is what I meant. So these guys, so him and Christensen both, if you go look at their like the lap by lap for their skiing, it's like they knew that they weren't going to catch up. And so here I pulled up lap 4 because this is where it really started to be apparent to me. Christensen was, I can find this. This is really compelling stuff. So he was 1 minute and 21 seconds behind JT on lap 4, which is just sort of preposterous. Anyway, I wonder how much of it was we're just going to start saving ourselves for the rest of the week. Didn't work out.
Did we mention Rastoguyev, 4th?
We did not.
Oh, he had an amazing championship too, and Jacquelin 5th. It was one of those days where it did work out. Only one miss.
Did. Did you see all of the? So he had. Did you see his race?
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah. So he 19 for 20, like very very solid shooting. Obviously, he was in 5th, and obviously you can do the math. So if you take one penalty off, so if he had shot 20 for 20, he would have been 203, which is 10 seconds off of the podium. But he got so much derision for his decision to try to chase down JT Bow on going into the, I think it was between lap 1 and going to lap 2, and then he really fell off the table on lap 3. But anyway, it was a great race. I just I think that we need to celebrate when he does something really well. So
and
good for him.
I get the impression that he'd much rather like completely die in the first or in the last lap than crossing the finish line and feeling he still has something left in the tank.
Yeah.
Right? So, he's not going to change. This is who he is. And I was happy to see him up there to even for him to just know that I can still challenge.
Yeah.
Right. Really, and he wasn't challenging the gold really, but if Bo is on a form like that, then that's pretty much impossible, right?
He's going to. Yeah. I think Tandrevold was the only guy who could even challenge him, and he was 58 seconds behind.
Ponce, Loma, and Giacomel, 6 misses. Not having a good day. Jeremy Finello, 8 misses.
Ooh,
definitely some shooting results that
big numbers
weren't. Yeah.
Oh, also, if anybody watched all the way until the very end. What's his name? Haldum Borglum?
Borglum?
Yeah. Young Canadian man.
Time of his life.
Some nice television time. Like he was on there for several minutes. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm not it was legitimately cool to have him get on TV. I guess
absolutely. And again, and also a shout out to the Czech crowd.
Yeah,
they were not going anywhere, and they were cheering him on. And I think even in his last shooting, they were like cheering his shots. And so, what an awesome experience for.
And it was funny
right?
because he's a young guy, right?
Yep. Well, 24.
Yeah. But I mean, his experience on this level is just not there. But you could almost watch him like coming down the last kilometer, like, and the fans start cheering, and you could watch his tempo pick up, and you're like, he's feeling the adrenaline now.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
It must be such a tough place to be in when you know that everybody wants to go home and the coaches are on their way back to the stadium and you're still doing your race. So
that's the other thing I wanted to say.
There's people cheering you on.
There was a coach who was out there who was yelling out things like you need 4 seconds to the next person. I'm making up the numbers, but it was incredible. Like, I love that they weren't out there just like, hey, good job, good job. Like they were actually like still coaching. And that was really cool because they'd been out there for hours at that point. They had to be, cold and wet, but it's good for everybody involved.
I think it's a very undervalued job. It's not so much the head coaches that are in the stadium, but the guy, like it's often like wax guys or that are on the course and just get the information, and it just and for a country like Norway, it's maybe not as special, but especially for smaller countries, and we've heard stories of American coaches helping out the Canadians and vice versa. And actually heard from Janice Grundall. She's on the younger Canadian group that went to the Arbor Championships.
Yeah.
And she said the whole championships, Matthias was helping coaching and
well, that's his group right there.
No, it is, but he doesn't have to. It was I don't know if you remember the weather there.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Pretty darn miserable.
Yeah.
But she's like, he was out there the whole time. And
Matthias is one of those people who is just like a good person. And so it just, and I know that just from having spoken to him one time, like he just wants good things for people. So
you spoke to him twice.
Yeah. Well, I can count. Single mixed relay.
I want one more thing on the individual. So on the German team, there was a bit of a discussion about sitting out Strello.
Yeah.
Because he had a pretty good going. And they sat him out for the single mixed. And we'll get into that now.
Sure will. So single mixed.
Surprised were you with Datu Lu being on the French team?
Over Simone? I was initially surprised. Worked out well. You can't go wrong, with any of those three, right? I mean, like you're really choosing between three of the top 5 or 6 women in the world. So, no huge step down there. And
you could still argue that Simone and JBB are a even better bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was thinking I can argue against JVB only because the course is so short that there's less opportunity for her to really do her damage with her skis. But
fair enough.
Simone, especially like in a relay like this, you can shoot in 17 seconds. Like that is a prime opportunity to make some space. But again, it didn't matter.
Super excited for Jean Monod, right? And QFM too. Like, he's had to deal with some setbacks, so it's nice for him to be on top. And Italy, especially Giacomel, is
very excited.
Not so good.
Yeah. I love watching Giacomel excited because he is just so like he lets you know it. And I don't like I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like he just is like his enthusiasm is palpable from 1,000 miles away. Speaking of, I want to go back to Jean Monod real quick. What impressed me most in this was not her shooting, but she looked as good, if not better, than Tandrevold on the skis. Like she just looked like more energetic. And I don't know how much there's a lot that could be going into it, but I always think of her as a shooter first, but that was just sort of a, hey, she can ski too.
See, I mean, it's easy to say now, but I've always seen her as the total package.
Yeah. No, I think you have, yeah.
And she may never be the fastest, like the number one course time. Yeah. But she's always going to be in the top 5 or 10. And the same with shooting speed, and the same with, shooting percentages. I think that's her strength. Like her base is really high, and then especially if she has a peak, then I think she's going to be pretty much unbeatable. But
yeah, no kidding.
Germany that we just talked about had a kind of disappointing race. They were still one of the best shots. But yeah, I guess the speed wasn't there, and like I mentioned earlier, Vogt particularly is not a fast shooter by any means. Strello is.
Yeah, Vogt is not.
So that was, and in her, was it her last shooting that she had 3 spares, or was it spread out over the?
Yeah. Yep.
So maybe the pressure getting to her, but I mean, 6 is not bad by any means, but coming off the win in Antholz, I'm sure it was a little disappointing.
How about the race for like between I think it was Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, USA, Latvia, I think was in there for that, like the race for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they were all in this big bunch, and
within
it was fun.
10 seconds, eh? Yeah.
Within it.
Latvia,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still really confused because I watched the first shooting.
Yeah.
And, you see the Latvia thing pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, it's black. And then after a little while, you see the white dots coming up. And then it disappears. And in my head, my memory, I think Latvia was up forever.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the numbers, and it seemed like he had one of the fastest times.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it was just like a technical error, or if it was just my brain doing its usual thing.
I thought we saw that he had a couple of falls.
He apparently had 2 falls. I didn't see it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It made me look and think, oh, that doesn't help, because
Yeah.
even though he has a great championships, I still think for Latvia to repeat their 3rd place or even higher, everything had to go right.
Yeah.
So I still feel like I'm missing something where things didn't go as planned. But 8th place is nothing to be ashamed of for Latvia. But I don't know. I think I said they would win a medal. This was the event where I was thinking of, but thankfully, Rastorguyev did it another way.
He did. Yes.
It was disappointing.
He almost won 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, with Bandika being 5th in the sprint, clearly she was in a good shape and everything. So I was disappointed to see Latvia didn't get more out of that. But
yeah. And I already mentioned it, but Deidre winning, Campbell Wright in the mix, top 5 for most of the day. So that was fun too.
Yeah.
Was the relay day one of the craziest relay days we've had in a long time?
In the sense of mixed?
Oh no, I mean the women's and men's, the 4x6 and the 4x7.5.
The mixed nations?
Yeah.
And how long everybody was still in it?
Yes. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
So obviously in the women's relay, the French still won. But so Chabot had
I
2
can't
penalty
remember
loops.
Seeing somebody so relieved.
Yeah, I know.
Got 2 penalty loops and still win.
Yes, I know.
And with that team, you're always like, they're not out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to really, really blow it, right?
Yeah.
For
I'm sure having 2 penalty loops feels like you're really, really blowing it, right?
Yeah, I know.
And I'm guessing everything in her head was like, if we do not win the medal, it's going to be on me for the rest of my life, right?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. It helps when you have JVB and Simone to close it out. That's just that's just an insane 1-2 punch. But
yeah, and how much was Jean Monod? Because she came out first, right?
Yeah. So that's
16 seconds ahead of Knoten.
Yeah, that's just
maybe
wild.
That was already a bit tough for Chabot, being in the lead.
That much of a lead. Yeah.
But
yeah. So that was. I mean, they let a lot of people in it, but Estonia, I think, was the story of the day, right? I mean, let's not bury it. They were leading after 2 legs. So Tulu Dominguez hands off to Susan Kuhlm, Quellm, and they were in the lead, and they still ended up finishing in 4th. I have never been so nervous when Johanna Talaherm was shooting, like my palms were sweaty because I just wanted it so badly for her. And the whole team, but we've been fortunate enough to speak with her, and so that just watching her hit all the targets, medal or not, doesn't matter. This was an amazing, sensational success. That was just amazing.
I mean, I honestly, I still can't get over it that we've often seen nations being in it. You know, we've seen the U.S. come through in fourth after two shootings, but to still be in it in the last shooting. And,
yes,
you know that there's, even if she would get out in a podium position, we knew there was fast skiers behind her.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, to keep your head cool and put the targets down.
That last,
so impressive, because they're not, you can't really train for, can I shoot when I'm in a mental position?
Yeah.
You can come up with strat or like exercises where you sort of pretend that the pressure is there, but it's at a World Championships in particular.
Yeah. There's nothing like it.
Fantastic.
And needing to hit that, like she had no more spares, that she had to get it down.
Right.
She did. And just the joy she had coming down the finish was everything. So I wanted to make a special shout out. I've mentioned this before,
but I love it when people are not on a podium and still come across the line as if they just won.
Yes. Yeah.
I think Poland had that too.
Yes. But before we talk about Poland, I want to make a special shout out that every athlete should follow Johanna Talaherm's lead, and we're not sponsored, but you should use Honey Power. Did you see? So she posted something about Honey Power afterwards. I thought that was reminded me of our conversation with her.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Poland. Poland, in sixth place was just as exciting.
Well, and it's having talked to the coach and or to these athletes, it just brings it a little bit closer too, right? So
yeah. I just very, very, very happy for them.
But this was definitely a race where you were sitting on the edge of your seat the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, and you would see these unusual names. I shouldn't say names, unusual nations near the top, and just like, what is happening? Was it were the Belgians in the mix for a while with Lotte Lee and Maya Klotens? I mean, it was just they were up in the top six for a bit. It was wild. So that's what you want to see, though.
Yeah.
So thank you to Sophie Chavot for allowing that to happen. Not, just for making it interesting and knowing that you had so much firepower behind you that you could let it be exciting for a little while. But no, in all seriousness, it was great racing by some underdogs.
Mm-hmm. And also Sweden, who, like we said, didn't have a very good championships with some individual good results, but Elvira could have, probably wouldn't have gotten the gold anyway, but the miss didn't help, or the penalty loop. But it was good to see them right at the top.
Yes. Yeah.
And then,
just,
Norway.
Hasn't been great, but here we are.
Yeah. Czech Republic in seventh. So that was a good result for them, even though their shooting was not where they would have liked it. Austria.
Yeah.
Decent result.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Norway in 10.
Anna Gondler, by the way, had the best leg too. So good for her.
Oh, she's had an amazing championship.
Yes. Yep.
And Italy was a little disappointing too, right?
Yeah, they were out of it almost immediately.
Starting with two laps. Yeah.
And that was it. Help. And then they never saw him again. Similar thing, by the way, we'll talk about the Italian men, but similar thing happened to them. So it was just sort of stunning to see them, the Italians, just totally out of it right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Latvia got lapped, unfortunately. It was right in the range, which I don't recall seeing very often. I always thought that once they're in the range, they'll let them shoot and then take them out. But in the end, I guess it doesn't really matter. But
yeah.
Canada 12th with no penalty loops. So that was
penalty
good.
Loops. Yeah. Yeah. So my thoughts on Canada. Sorry, I was pausing. My thoughts on Canada it's tough because all I think about is Emma Lunder and just how difficult that has to be to to lose your parent and then still be over there. So it just seeing her in any of these races just is phenomenal. So any thoughts on the men? Was it exciting? Was it interesting?
Kind of as usual, right? Norway cruising to the lead, to the win. And then,
what was Christensen's lead? Do you remember? It was like a minute, wasn't it?
It was much, but I think I know the reason. I don't know if you read this article earlier in the championship that he had probably the worst sleeping arrangement of everyone.
No, I didn't see this.
It sounded like they rented a house or a cabin, and obviously I don't know the details, but he ended up being the one sleeping in the kitchen.
What?
With basically no door to close and they were joking about him having the worst, sleeping spot in the whole group of athletes. And, for a nation like Norway, you would expect that they're, I guess in a bit of a better arrangement. Now, I have no idea if this was by any means against his will, or maybe he, he's a bit of a fun, crazy character. So maybe he was just like, oh, whatever, I can sleep wherever. And maybe he had the best sleep in his life. I don't know. But it made me think of that right when I was like, maybe he's just really exhausted from not sleeping because he was in the kitchen and didn't have a lot of privacy.
That is bizarre. I'm just stunned that was the setup that they had.
Already Ligrit with a lap.
Yeah. Well, Ligrit with a lap. And then it still didn't really seem to matter. It seemed like just like the French, because they had Tarje and Johannes Tingnes. They were just, we'll just cruise back to the front. It's fine. And then this is what's so weird to me is like Christensen has his prone shooting and he's perfect. And you're like, oh, well, this is like, what are we even doing here? So like I was having a conversation with my parents, like not even really paying attention. And I was sort of stunning.
It was 30 seconds.
That's how much the lead was.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
I see that correctly. Yeah.
We mentioned the Italians. So Didier Biona, he had a penalty loop and they were way, way behind. I think they were like at one point in like 20th place or something like that. Hofer and Jacomel had like the comeback of the year, bringing them from, it was something like 18th place to 6th. So hats off to them. Like you could totally see a scenario where, you're like, I don't really, we're in 18th place. Like it's sort of disappointing. I'm already in the mass start. Let's save our energy. Nope. They raced themselves all the way back to 6th. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Just looking at their times. No, I can't really find it, what I'm looking for, but is it loop time?
Yeah.
1912. Yeah, so Hofer was 6th of the third loop, and Jacomel was 2nd, just after, just behind Quentin Firmier.
Just wild stuff.
But ahead of Samuelson. Yeah. Samuelson must have been, like, my guess is that he knew exactly what Christensen had done.
Yeah.
Because even, like, the commentators were saying that he could still see the targets
interesting.
Down.
Yeah.
I would think that they reset them, but maybe because they only have, they have less than 30 teams, so maybe they don't and leave it down the way it is. But otherwise, I'm sure he would have seen it on the scoreboard or something like that. And then, his shooting has not been impeccable by any means.
Yeah.
So then to keep your cool.
Yeah.
And just shoot 5. That was super exciting to see for him. And again, I'm sure he would have liked to have done better on an individual level, but at the same time to to beat the Norwegians.
Yeah. Well,
It was a bit of a gift on a platter, perhaps, but at the same time, you still need to put yourself in a position, and you still need to do it, right?
the margin wasn't that big. Like he still had to hit the targets.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like he could sit there and mess around. Like he had to hit him. So, so that was big. I actually did want to go back real quick to the women's relay. Simone had a shooting in the women's relay. I think it was the standing shooting. She had 3 extras, and it was like 38 seconds was her total shooting time. It was the smoothest reloading of 3 extras I've ever seen. It was just like whoop whoop, like it was so fast. And so I mean, she's I'm in awe of her shooting right now. But
it'd be really fun to have a video of that and then record me when I'm trying to reload. To compare to an amateur. And, it's like fiddling around and anyway.
I just wanted to. We've talked about the Americans a lot, but great relay finish in 5th. So it was a really nice finish. Bonacci and Doherty, Wright, and Jake Brown. And Jake Brown, who has had a couple of bad relays where they've gotten off to a decent start, but he closed very strong. So it was really, really great to see.
Were you surprised that Christensen in the end still beat Fiume for the sprint to the line?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm impressed that he put in the energy for the surge.
Yeah, and
good for him.
QFM did look very tired, but so did Christensen. I was like, I don't know if he's like. I'm sure Christensen was super motivated to be like, I'm going to get at least a silver out of it, but I was surprised that he was still able to get back at him. But it's actually, I'm just looking at the times. So if Samuelsen started 30 seconds behind Norway, I'm just looking at the loop times again and see, because it just seems weird to me that if Sweden was 30 seconds behind at the start of the 4th leg, and then Norway had 3 misses, and they were only 12 seconds behind. But I guess Samuelsen just took his time, right, when he knew he wasn't going to be beat.
Yeah. Shut it down at the end. Celebrated, picked up a flag.
Yeah, that's true.
Polish men finished in 9th. Did I mention that?
Nope.
First time, I think.
Czech Republic in 7th.
Yeah. Yeah. So, good days all around. Germans in 4th, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mass start day. Any big surprises on the mass starts? For the women,
there was one fun incident.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the medal ceremony.
No.
When they start with the number 3, Jean Monod,
yeah.
And she basically jumped on the number 1 spot almost. I thought it was hilarious.
She's anticipating the future, I think.
Yeah.
Great races by those 3, Justine Fatozzi and Jean Monod. Simone with 3 misses and she still finishes in 4th. That's amazing. Our Austrian women, Hauser and Gandler, 6th and 7th. So Hauser, that was her best finish of the year after only the individual to start the year, and then Gandler, that actually matches her career best.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to mention Gandler real quick. So her finishes this week were really good. I without looking it up, I think this was probably her best week ever. I mean, she went 11th in the sprint, 12th in the pursuit, 19th in the individual, 7th in the mass start, which is her career best. And then she had some really great legs in the women's relay and the mixed relay. So it was tremendous racing. And I mentioned this because we were big fans of hers. She's been on the podcast before, and we're interviewing her again in 2 days. So
yes,
very excited about that. Anybody else stand out for you?
Lotte Lee in 14th had a good race.
Yeah.
And 2 Estonians in the top 12.
2 Estonians in the top 12.
Ermits and Tuuli Tamingas.
Yeah. 2 Poles in the race.
Yeah.
Natalia Sidorovich in 16th, and Joanna Jakiela was 25th. 25th, yep.
One thing I forgot about the women's relay is that Steiner was actually on her way home. Like, not, I don't think she was like in a car or whatever, but she was packed and already training in a, rest of season mode.
Yeah.
As in, pretty tough training. And then got told that Price was sick, and then Steiner got into the fourth leg too, right?
She was in the mass start. Yes, in the fourth leg.
No, sorry. But on the relay, I think she was. Yeah.
Yes, she was. Yeah.
Last leg.
Yeah.
Which, must make you feel so good that, who knows how Price would have done.
Yeah.
But
sorry, she was first leg. She was first leg.
On the relay?
Yeah. She was first leg.
Hedwig Wells.
No. So Steiner's Austrian.
Sorry, I meant Sophia Schneider on the German team.
Schneider. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
She was basically done.
Yeah.
And then got called in to replace Preutz in the fourth leg of a relay, and then did
gets a medal,
pretty good.
Yeah,
gets a medal, and then
way to go, her. Just wild. So to turn your brain around that fast and to go from like training mode to competition mode, and maybe it's a good thing. You didn't have enough time to get nervous about it, but
I suppose
but you won a medal. It's just, and I want to say you weren't just on a relay team who won a medal. Like, you made the last shots and won the medal. So that's nuts. We already mentioned Tandrevold, her 3 misses on the first standing, and then she goes clean on the last one. But that's another. It was fun to watch her in the mix for the first half of the race. And I had this brief thought of like, hey, what if she figured it out? And that was, not so much fun to watch.
Not quite.
No, but I mean, Justine Brézal-Boucher was really the story of the day.
She was quite emotional, hey, on the podium.
She was. Yeah. That was just phenomenal racing. It was a perfect race. What are you going to do? Yeah. And then on the men,
Bo's still boss.
He is. When he came to the last shooting, and there was like, he didn't have a massive lead over Rastroguyev's. I think it was only like 10 seconds or so. Yeah. And I was like, it's not, and he's a good totally shot,
Rastoguyev, right? So
was that? Yeah.
Well, I always think like if somebody like Ponsaloma is 10 seconds behind you, you know that there's a fair chance that you'll miss one, right?
Yeah.
So even if you miss one, there's still a good chance. But Rastoguyev has been shooting very well the whole season.
Really well.
So you know that if I miss one, there's a good chance he might not. And I think Bo would have still beat him if it was one penalty over none in the last shooting. But the way he just, JT Bo just, shot 5.
Yeah.
And,
just so solid. And went away for gold. And it was a pretty fitting way for the men's side to end. Quinton Fiume, we've talked about him a couple times, but he definitely closed the championships on a high note with the single mixed and then the relay and then this. I thought that he had a pretty good last few races. Tarjei just off of the podium, but he had a great championships. Can't really feel. I mean, you feel bad, but you don't feel devastated for him.
Shout out to Jakob Fuck in 6th and Sebastian Staller in 7th. Eh?
Yes, yeah. Staller just kept hanging around.
I know, and he's just really one of those that's always kind of under the radar because you always feel like he's not quite at that elite level yet.
Yeah.
But
give him a couple years.
Yeah.
I really love the idea of him and Hartweg in like 2 years, maybe even next year at Worlds in Switzerland. But just like this really nice 1-2 duo for Switzerland. That could be a lot of fun. Just to get like another nation that we don't see a lot of. Right. It's like a really solid 1-2 punch. I think Eric Perot had a solid World Championships. He didn't knock anybody's socks off, but he's still 24 years old. So,
and he had a silver, right?
Yeah. So just a nice Worlds. So I'm really happy for him.
Hartwig is actually not having the greatest day.
Who's that?
Johannes Kuhn. Johannes Kuhn fell, and I think the barrel must have hit his head in his fall because he was quite banged up. Although, blood makes things look bad very quickly. I don't know how bad it was.
Yeah.
But
you can bleed a lot from your head, and it can look horrible. But
yeah. I think somebody meddled with Siminator's rifle because he had 3 misses in 1 prone shooting. I'd almost like to go back in his stats and see what's the last time that happened.
Did that. Yeah, I mean, there had to be some wizard or somebody who was affecting him on that one. That's the only possibility.
That makes me I was thinking, how did he miss? Maybe somebody touched him, and then was it the first week where Strello hit
he did it twice.
Ligritz? And it was really interesting because I was specifically looking at his Ligritz shooting, and then I thought that Strello hit his ski, and instantly the 4th shot went wide.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's official rules that you have to keep your skis within the lines between the mats.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the sizes of some of these athletes and then these long legs, there's I am, 5'8", and I sometimes have a ski going over the line. So I think it's something that's generally accepted that happens. And it's, when you're so close to each other, sometimes you touch each other. So I don't think it's necessarily something you can be disqualified for unless there's a clear indication of doing it on purpose. But definitely felt like he was impacted and missed because of it. But
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I would be a little bit not thrown off balance physically, but just affected by something, not expecting to feel that behind you, right?
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, I would think at that level that they actually also practice with, you go shoot and we'll put somebody next to you who's clumsy or drops a pole on you or, touches your ski. You would think that they practice to handle something like that.
Yeah.
I think I sent you a video a while back with Tandrevold on a more of a, not Tandrevold, Tyrrell Eckhoff on a a fun Norwegian TV show, and they had a python around their neck, and he was dressed up like
yes.
So anyway, I think they would practice for that, but still, it sucks when you feel like you missed a target because somebody touched your ski. But and Rastoguyev in second.
Yeah.
Out.
Do you want to have
Sorry?
No, I was going to say, did you happen to hear all the conversation about, there are people who are very upset about Rastoguyev being in second place.
Because of the
past doping suspension.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really we talked with Clay Regan about this for a while. And anybody who's listening to this, if you've made it this far, I would highly recommend part 2 of our interview with Clay Regan. Listen to it. She has very well thought out discussion about doping and the World Anti-Doping Association. And we talked in particular about Rastoguyev's case. So, but anyway, I thought it was interesting how strong some of the feelings were even this many years later.
Right. Yeah. Was he the one that missed his test 3 times?
So I read into it a little bit more. What happened was that it was his address was, he had an address on file, and apparently there was something that it had worked for a couple of years and then he didn't update it. Not he didn't move. It was the same address, but for some reason the address needed to be updated and he didn't. And so that was 2 of them. And then one of them was he missed the test thing. So it was one missed test and 2 address issues. Anyway, regardless, the rules what it is. He broke it 3 times.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that I was impressed that he was actually able to hold off Quentin Fillmonier, because I thought, because he put in a lot of effort just to stay in the front spot. So I was impressed that he was able to last to the finish and got in second.
Yeah. Speaking of Canton Fillon-Maillet, oh wow, I butchered that one. Canton Fillon-Maillet. I was really impressed by his shooting. There was definitely a strategy there of I'm going to shoot fast, and this is the way I'm going to do it because I need every advantage I can get. 23.9, 24.5, 18.2, 17.5. And it really felt like I have to shoot clean and I have to shoot fast so I can get even like 5 or 6 seconds just to build a little advantage. And it worked out. He got bronze. So, good for him.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
From the mass start, I just to say from the mass start, it was nice seeing 2 Americans and a Canadian in the mix. Mm-hmm. So obviously they didn't finish too terribly high, but it was just you have to qualify for it, and so it was nice that it reflected that they had good performances throughout the worlds. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. In general, any thoughts?
So here, this is what I wanted to talk about with JT Bowe was he now has 38 total World Championship medals. He has 19 in individual races. He has 20 golds and total and 10 from individual races. He is 7 back of Bjorn Dahlen, I believe, in both total and individual medals. And then he is tied for first in total golds. And he is 1 back of Fourcade and Bjorn Dahlen for individual gold medals. And he is obviously still, if not at the very tippy top of his game, he is still very, very good. I fully anticipate that he is going to surpass both of them in the very near future. Bjorn Dahlen
will be at least a year.
Because of the 7. But Bjorn Dahlen didn't have the benefit of some of the relay races, like the mixed relay and single mixed relay for a number of years. But still, it just really feels like.
I think the team around Bjorn Dahlen was also not as strong. The men's relay team. Yeah. They were good. They were strong, but not as. Yeah. I don't think he had 4 people or 3 other people on his team that were in the top 5 in the race for the globe. Right?
No. Yeah. So anyway, it's just he is sort of establishing himself as the best. He's putting together was that
the GOAT?
Yeah, like he is, right? And so I was going to say, this is 2 straight years of 7 medals. He won 3 golds this year in the pursuit, in the individual, and the mass start. He won silver in the sprint when he was 4 seconds back of Lagride. Was he better this year than last year? That's my question for you. He had 3 silvers with a sprint, and then 2 relays, and then a bronze in one of the relays. And I don't believe that the relays were on him.
I honestly see them as the same because I don't want to look at just the results, even though you could argue that's the only thing that matters. Mm-hmm. But just his dominance. Yeah. And given that, he was 4 seconds behind the gold in the sprint, and like you said, he should have gotten at least 1, if not 2 golds in the relays. Mm-hmm. To me, it's more about he's just the man. Like he seems almost unbeatable. Yeah. And to me, that was pretty much the same as last year. Uh-huh. Yeah. And like I said, the results are a bit different, but in the end, he's still, when he's on a roll, you're basically looking for the silver medal at the most. All the other ones.
And it's interesting to me, I think, because we've had the conversation earlier this year that he wasn't as dominant this year as last year. And then in the sprint, he looked absolutely exhausted at the end. Yeah. Didn't matter. He's still, it was just, he's still, like you say, he's still the man.
Yeah. And also the ability to peak at a World Championships or an Olympics every single time is not a lot of people can do that. Mm-mm. Usually for most people, it gives an extra pressure that is hard to deal with, makes it harder. but he seems to just thrive on it and welcome the challenge of, okay, you think I'm not going to peak here? Prove me wrong.
There are very few people who I would say, like, you can count them on one hand, right? You get to the final shooting, and you just expect that they're going to hit all five. Like, and when he got to the final shooting in the mass start, I was like, there was still a chance that he could miss, but I didn't expect it. Like, I can picture it and I will always be able to picture it in my head because he's got sort of in my mind, this sort of unique frame, this sort of unique outline of his body when he is in his standing shooting, and he doesn't use the eye cover, right? But he just gets up there, and it's just like you can just feel that this is going to be 5 for 5, and it's going to be in rhythm, and he's just going to ski out of there. And like, was there ever really a doubt? And it's like in my mind, I can play up. Oh well, I guess if he misses, then he's got to do this on the final lap, and then I'm like, why did I even think about that? Like, what was the point? Because
but it's even if he misses one,
yeah,
he could still win. Like, it's likely that he will still win, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
it is.
But it's
sometimes
interesting because there are some sports where I don't enjoy when somebody's like really above the rest in a way. But even though he is, I still don't feel like there's still a chance that he will not win.
Yeah, that's biathlon.
Every race. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what I enjoy with the sport is that, even though his chance of winning is the largest by far, it doesn't take much to not win. So,
yeah, it's a great sport. I love this sport. It's, like you said, there's always a chance. But, that was fun. I'm glad that we've got some time to recover a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was a lot.
I must say, this was the most notes I've ever taken.
I know, and here's the thing: is like I know that we miss things.
Oh yeah,
because it's too much to stay on top of all of it. I'm just scrolling through. Oh, here's another story: Victor Brandt, Brandt from Sweden. His first career relay is he wins a gold medal at the World Championships. And so I think that we can, I would imagine he'll be back on the team.
Yeah, because Jesper Nellen?
Jesper Nellen was on there as well. Yep.
Who did Brand replace?
I'm not sure. Can't think of off the top of my head.
No.
Femling? Pepe Femling?
Oh, Pepe Femling, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was only six.
It's good to see when somebody gets a chance. Same with that German I was talking about, Steiner. No, not Steiner.
Schneider.
I know Schneider.
Yeah.
To, grab your chance and
do it.
Just go for it. It really makes me think that the gap between the IBU Cup and the World Cup is decreasing.
I think you're right. I think that the top 10 on the IBU Cup any given week could maybe not win on the World Cup, but they wouldn't be just overrun.
Yeah. See, I'm going to make a note to do some research on that.
We have a week of no World Cup racing, and I think we're going to need
talking to Anna Wednesday.
Yep.
So
that'll be up.
Lots of stuff to listen to. And sorry for being a little later this week.
Yeah,
but thanks again for people that reacted on Facebook and Instagram. We really appreciate letting us know when you let us know how you feel, and think of our podcast. So that's great. And
also, I was going to say, definitely reach out, even if we don't respond right away, because we read all of it, and it really helps.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Yeah, pay attention to Junior Worlds. They start on Friday. Yeah, it's just fun. So Youth Worlds and Junior Worlds, and a lot of fun athletes out there. So
Where's that now?
it's in Estonia.
Estonia. There you go.
Yep. My girl Anna Andexter is going to go and try to conquer the world. But I mean, this is going to be the best of the obviously the best of the world for the U22s. So I hope it's a good time. I hope they have good weather. And
see, what do you mean
can't promise
having
I'm
a
gonna
break?
watch every race. Was that?
Well, you said we're having a little break, but
Yeah, I think we're going to have a little break. I don't think that I can wake up at 3. Seriously, the races are like 3 a.m, so I don't know if I'll be getting up and watching
For
those.
you?
Right? Yeah, for me.
okay, yeah, then that's not going to happen on my side, at least not live.
So that's what I mean. I won't be watching them. I'll pay attention to results. Maybe I'll watch them later. But yeah. Yep. All right, let's get out of here.
All right, man. Yep. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We will
and have a great week.
Absolutely. We will be back shortly. Bye now.
Love you. Bye.